I come from a small rural town in Ontario called Cheney. My area is home to the Larose Forest, the second largest hand-planted forest in the world and the largest in North America. This forest is home to a ghost town and several horrifying stories, from children drowning in a creek near the Grant Cemetery to people encountering the supernatural upon visiting the eerie location. I had only stepped foot in the forest a few times in my life, with nothing scary happening when I went there. After high school, I was very dedicated to becoming a police officer. It had been my dream since starting sophomore year, and I was proud to say that I worked hard enough to turn my dream into a reality. One night, I was patrolling the area near the police station as my shift was coming to a close. When I was about to call it quits and head back, dispatch broadcasted a report of several screams of what sounded like a woman in the Larose Forest heard by a local citizen. Luckily, I didn't have to investigate the call as my colleague Zach was closer to the site than I was. I called it a night, went back to the station, and finally headed home. There was UFC on that night, and one of my favorite fighters had a bout in the main event. Despite being tired, I was too invested in the fight to go to bed. Not only did I love the fighter, but I had bet something like $150 in parlays on the event. Fighting my exhaustion wasn't so hard when the important fight started. My heart was beating through my chest, and I was 3 legs deep into a 5-leg parlay. I had $50 on this parlay, and it was my only one left. I had lost all the other ones. For those who don't understand what a parlay is, it's pretty much a compilation of bets that yield a large reward if they all hit, but you lose the wager on all the bets if you lose just one of them. The 4th leg hit, and I had just the main event left to watch. Out of all 5 fights, this one was the likeliest bet. My fighter was a huge favorite, and I had no doubts he would dominate his opponent. The underdog decided he would ruin my night though, by knocking out my favorite fighter in the second round. I was quite drunk and angry about my big loss, but going to bed was still easy as I was already tired on top of being on the verge of passing out from the alcohol. I went to bed shortly after 1 a.m. I know, that's a little late, but it was a Saturday and I had the day off the next day. However, I woke up to the sound of my work phone buzzing at around 3 a.m. I contemplated letting it ring, but when I came to the realization that I could make some extra money after losing all my bets, I picked up hoping they were looking to call someone into the station. Jeremy, the dispatch officer, said, "Thank God you picked up. I've been trying everyone for like 15 minutes now. Listen, remember that call that Damien sent Zach on earlier? He still hasn't returned to the station. I was thinking maybe he was still helping, but his shift has been over now for an hour or so. Would you mind heading over there and making sure he's okay?" While I hesitated at first, I thought about how scared I would be if I were in Zach's shoes and reluctantly accepted the call. I got out of bed, put on my dirty uniform I had just taken off not 4 hours ago, and I noticed I was still a bit drunk from the beers I had earlier. While I would have normally said something to my supervisor or dispatch, I recognized how urgent the situation was, and I wasn't intoxicated enough for it to be a real problem. I drove to the forest, and after a while of roaming the trail in my cruiser, I noticed in the distance Zach's vehicle was parked on the side of the trail. I parked behind him and walked up to the driver's side window. I cupped my hands around the glass and looked inside, thinking maybe Zach had gone to sleep before heading back or something. To my horror, he wasn't in the vehicle. I yelled out, "Zach! Zach! Where are you, man?" I got no response. I walked around for a while and didn't find any signs of Zach. The forest was pretty dead and quiet this time of year, so finding anything would be substantial that night. I was about to head back to the station and escalate the situation when I found a few sets of footsteps. They went from walking to running to walking again and abruptly stopping. I looked around the area and couldn't believe my eyes. The steps just vanished, and it was as if whoever was walking had just disappeared. There was a log nearby, and I looked beyond it to see if maybe he had jumped over it. Nothing. The whole thing was really odd, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't start panicking at this point. I'd had enough of the night and decided moving forward alone might have been risky or even useless based on the footsteps being my only clue as to where Zach was. As I drove back to the police station, I called into dispatch and let them know what I had just encountered. Jacob from dispatch sounded really calm for what I had just reported. It almost made me angry how nonchalant he was about the whole thing. A rogue police cruiser in the woods, footprints disappearing, you'd think anyone, especially a police officer, would be more concerned than he was. I headed straight home instead of stopping by the station, as I didn't want anyone to smell the beer in my breath. Jacob agreed that it would be a good idea for me to head straight home, considering I had gotten such little sleep. I got home at around 4:30 a.m. and didn't even try to fall asleep. I was worried sick. Where is Zach? Why would he just leave his cruiser in the woods and not tell anyone? And what on earth could explain those footsteps? Why is Jacob so chill about one of his colleagues literally going missing overnight? I thought to myself. I kept repeating these thoughts and had the whole ordeal on my mind for several hours. I decided to head back to the station at around 7 a.m. when Jacob's shift would end and Damien's would start. Considering how relaxed Jacob was about the whole situation, I figured I'd have to wait for someone else to show up before I could suggest taking any further action. When I got to the station, I noticed Damien was having his morning smoke and coffee outside, and I pulled out my own cigar so I could join him. After looking at me with a confused expression, he said, "I thought you were off today." "I am, or I was," I replied. I lit my cigar and asked him if Jacob had brought up the incident from the night before. Damien's answer surprised me. "What happened?" "All Jacob told me is you were off today and that Zach was too." I told him about what happened, and after I mentioned the abandoned cruiser, footprints, and the fact that nobody had heard from Zach since he had responded to this call from the night before, he agreed that it was odd for Jacob to not bring anything up, especially considering that he brought Zach up and told him he was off for the day with no mention of anything else. While we were both confused and worried, we urgently called for a search party and declared Zach missing. Demi had to make the phone call to Zach's roommate and emergency contact, Johnny. While he was devastated to hear these horrible news, he knew the best thing to do would be to provide the police department with Zach's family's contact information. Damien called many family members, and they all immediately let as many people know about the situation and gathered lots of people to help them search for Zach. At around 9 a.m., the search party had grown to roughly 50 people. I headed back to the LaRose Forest and noticed there were dozens of cars parked in the trail along with Zach's abandoned cruiser. Our large group was split up in a fork-like shape to maximize the area we could cover. After a few hours of searching, Johnny found Zach's hat. The team found footsteps near the hat as well, but they led to so many different places, almost as if they were meant to be scattered and hard to track for anyone who might be looking for Zach. The day turned to dusk and dusk turned to night, and eventually it got cold. It was raining, and many members of the search party were starting to head home for the night. I decided to keep searching until I found Zach. I wasn't going to give up, and he had to be here somewhere. A few of Zach's close relatives and many officers from our department also remained in the party. I had to take a leak, so I branched off from the rest of the group until I felt I was far enough to do my business. While I was doing my thing, I heard a stick break in the distance. I turned around and saw nothing. I kind of expected that though, considering it was so dark out. I zipped my pants up and reached for my flashlight, and all of a sudden I got hit with a huge pain in the back of my head. The next thing I knew was I was on the ground getting dragged through the forest by my legs. I tried to speak, get up, anything, and I fully came to and realized my whole body was restrained. My legs were tied together, arms trapped in my own handcuffs, and my mouth was sealed with duct tape. I stared at the figure dragging me through the forest. I couldn't see much. He was exhausted, in pain even. He was grunting with every step, breathing very heavily, and I just didn't understand. Maybe I had put up a fight. My group may have hurt him. If so, then why aren't they here? I didn't remember much aside from being struck in the head. I began struggling and trying my hardest to make noise despite having my mouth covered. After realizing my efforts were useless, I began to look around. I couldn't tell where I was until I recognized the familiar log in the trail. The man dragged me around the log and then suddenly stopped. He let go of my legs and he walked a few steps away from me. He grunted and struggled as he crouched down to the ground and lifted a round piece of wood disguised with grass and dirt on top of it. I then made the horrible realization. Zach didn't vanish without a trace. He was brought into this hole, and now it's my turn to face the same fate as he did. The man grabbed me by the legs once again and dragged me until I fell down in the hole. I somehow managed to land on my feet and fell over after losing my balance. The man followed me down in the hole and placed the circular cover back on its entrance. I looked around and couldn't believe my eyes. I was in a mini hospital. A full-on medical room. There were surgery tables, dialysis bags on stands, blood samples, chemical flasks filled with what looked like water, and other things you normally find in a hospital. On top of being terrified for my life, I was confused. Why is this down here? What could anyone possibly be doing here? Where is Zach? Why me? I asked myself. I looked at the man in black and he walked away from me. He was covered in black from head to toe, from balaclava on his face, to his black coat, to his pants and his boots. But before I could observe him further or ask myself any more questions, my nose was covered by a cloth and I began to fall asleep. When I slowly came to, I opened my eyes and saw a big bright light over my body. I felt cold metal on my back, legs, and head. I looked down at my body and I realized I was now in my boxers, laying on one of the surgical tables I had seen earlier. My hands and feet were cuffed to metal posts. I struggled and tried to get out to no avail. After accepting that I won't be able to free myself no matter how hard I tried, I gave up and laid my head back on the table. I looked to my right and saw the man's clothes on the floor. I looked to my left and I couldn't believe my eyes. Zach was laying on the table right next to me. He too had his hands and feet cuffed to the table. I grunted and struggled more than ever before, trying to get his attention. He appeared to be asleep, eyes closed, but clearly breathing. I noticed he had stitches on his right side, and I could tell they were fresh as his skin was still quite irritated. While I was staring at him, I heard a door open and close behind me, followed by slow and steady footsteps. The man, he's back, I thought to myself. I heard his steps heading towards my right, and he slowly appeared in my field of view. He had changed into a surgeon's uniform, equipment, glasses, coat, mask, and all. He was surprisingly tall, taller than I remembered him being when he first brought me here. Well, what do we have here? He asked. Your friend here, he's a strong man, you know, he said. He sounded a lot less exhausted and in pain. Perhaps he had taken painkillers or gotten some rest while I was out. I'm gonna put you under now. You just sit there and enjoy the ride, he said. He reached to his side and picked up a needle. He cleaned my skin with an alcohol wipe before inserting it into my skin. I felt myself slowly passing out. I woke up and looked to my left, right, front, up, as far back as I could. I couldn't see anyone. No Zach, no surgeon. I looked down and noticed I had stitches on my right side, just like Zach did. I then noticed I had the same incision on my left side. Holy shit. He took my fucking kidneys, I thought to myself. I heard the familiar sound of footsteps behind me, and the man took a seat next to me. Wakey, wakey, he said. Oh, how rude of me. I forgot to introduce myself. I am Dr. Perrier. Yes, like the water, he said. What's your name? He asked. Damn it, I forgot you can't speak, he exclaimed. That's alright, Nicholas. I took the liberty of searching your wallet and found your ID. Too bad you don't carry any cash. A tip would have been nice, he laughed. So, I got good news and I got bad news. Now, the good news are I won't kill you, Nick. Frankly, your fate is up to you, my friend. You have a chance to go back to your normal life, but you'll have to do me a big favor. He paused and took a deep breath. That's kind of the bad news, you see. I took your kidneys, man. You have something like, what, a couple of hours, a couple of days to live if you're lucky. Well, you find me a new pair of kidneys, and I'll give you one of yours back. I'm gonna let you go, and you're gonna find me some kidneys. Got it? He asked. Oh, and you're gonna put those clothes on too. You don't want anybody seeing you. I followed where his finger was pointing. It led to the black clothes on the floor. Oh, and don't try to snitch on me or do anything stupid, alright? You got liquid cyanide in you somewhere, and if I ever get caught, I got a little mechanism that can trigger your death. Basically, if I get caught, you die, he said. The man grabbed keys from his table and proceeded to unlock my cuffs. He untied my legs and then my hands, and finally he removed the duct tape from my mouth. Better get to it. The longer you wait, the harder the job gets, he warned. I put the clothes on and thought about fighting back, killing him, doing something, but I had no idea how real his cyanide thing was. What if it's not true and he's just scaring me into keep it quiet? I mean, it sounds crazy, right? But that's not a risk I want to take, I thought to myself. He handed me a slingshot. You're gonna need this. Now, don't pull it back too far before you shoot. I want the next dude to be able to get me some kidneys too, he said. All the pieces were coming together in my head now. Doc, I have a question. Where's Zach? I asked. Oh, he's out of here. He held up his end of the deal, so I held up mine, he exclaimed. That's when I realized. I'm not wearing Dr. Perrier's clothes. I'm wearing Zach's. How could he do this to me? Why me? How could he follow through with such a fucked up deal? I asked Dr. Perrier. Don't be so hard on him now. You'll understand him better now that it's your turn, he said. I grabbed the slingshot and removed the hose cover. It was nighttime. I climbed back out of the ground and placed the cover back on. I heard my name being called in the distance, along with something about Zach. As they got closer, what they were yelling got clearer. We found Zach! We found Zach! You can come back now. I heard several voices shout that. I hid behind a tree as I heard the voices get closer. I saw so many lights heading deeper into the forest. I stayed put behind my tree and saw one flashlight come closer and closer to me. The flashlight turned off and I heard a zipper being undone. I got up closer to the man and stepped on a stick by accident. I grabbed a rock from my pocket and aimed my slingshot. He turned around. He couldn't see me, but with the soft moonlight, I could just barely see who I was looking at. It was Jer. I hesitated. A tear dropped down my face as I had to make a decision. If he pulls out his flashlight, I'm dead, I thought to myself. I heard him zip up his pants, and I saw him reach for his flashlight. I let go of the rock and heard him fall. I bound his legs, his arms, and put tape over his mouth. I was exhausted, in pain, breathing so heavy I thought I'd have a heart attack. I persevered and dragged him through the woods until I saw the log. I opened the cover, dropped Jer in the hole, followed him in, and put the cover back on. I heard a door open, followed by slow clapping. Well done, my friend, said Dr. Perrier. He grabbed a cloth, put it over Jer's face, and set him on the table. He did the same to me, and I didn't fight back because I knew it was the only way I'd live. I woke up, tied and bound to the table again. I looked to my right and saw the doctor removing Jer's kidneys. He looked at me and noticed I was awake. "Wakey, wakey," he said. "You're all set. Well, you'll be in lots of pain for a while, but you're okay." He unbound me from the table and gave me my police uniform back. "How do I get back now? They're gonna ask me where I was," I asked as I was getting dressed. "Well, that isn't my problem, buddy. Your job is to keep your mouth shut about me in this place. Be creative. Tell him you were on the moon for all I care," he said. I didn't respond. I couldn't believe what I had done, what I had been through. I still can't. I looked down at Jer, and that image still haunts me to this day. "I'm a coward for bringing you here. I'm sorry," I said to Jer's unconscious body. "Thank you for your service, officer," the doctor said as I was about to put the cover on the hole. It was now daytime. The search party was near. I could hear them again. "Jer? Nick? Where are you guys?" I followed the noise until I could see them. Damien saw me and ran up to me. "What the fuck happened? Are you okay? We were scared for you. Where were you, man?" he asked. "I don't know," I said.